Welcome in. It is another March to Match Day on the 92.9 The Game digital platforms. Thanks for finding us on YouTube and on the Off the Woodwork podcast folder. Make sure you're subscribed to both locations to get all the latest content. My name's Jason Longshore. We're getting ready for Atlanta United and Toronto FC. Saturday night, our coverage starts at 7 p.m. We'll be on Star 94 this week as the Hawks are playing Saturday night as well. Five Stripes countdown, 7 p.m. kickoff, 7:39 full-time report for an hour following the final whistle. And as a lot of you found out last week, which was very, very cool, you can listen to our call on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. You just go into the audio drop-down menu, choose Home Team Radio, boom, you're good. Now, next week in Charlotte, you won't have that option. You'll be able to listen to two friends of the show in Will and Jess. But if you want to listen to Mike and I next week, you're going to have to go old school and sync it up. I am hearing good things about that changing next season. So if you have MLS Season Pass and you're able to give feedback to the folks who have done a great job in building this out, and you want to listen to us when we're on the road, let them know, and then we'll see what happens. But I'm hearing good things about that for next year. So let's get caught up on both of these teams coming into week 2 in Major League Soccer. Atlanta United last week, if you don't know by now where you've been, gave up a goal early on a great cross from Christian Espinoza to pick out Jeremy Abobasi on the back post. Maybe defense got a little discombobulated, and Abobasi has a pretty comfortable header on the backside of the play. San Jose sat back deeper as the night went on. It took Atlanta United a long time to break through. They eventually did via Thiago Almada, dos golazos. The first one off of a corner, assist to Brooks Lennon. It's a great hit from Almada from about 22 yards out or so. Second one, unassisted, free kick golazo, maybe 25 yards out. What a performance from Thiago Almada to win this for Atlanta United and get all 3 points. The DC Toronto game was a little different and somehow even more chaotic. It was a game where in the first half, Mateus Click gets the opener for DC. 34th minute, Toronto had to make a substitution. Lorenzo Insigne left the match. Io Akinola checked in. Insigne is questionable for this week. He did train on the side on Thursday. Was expected going into Friday's session that he would be able to participate to some degree. Have not heard an update as of this press time as to whether he trained, whether he's making the trip, and what it looks like for Lorenzo Insigne. Bob Bradley did say that he felt a lot better about the injury Monday and Tuesday and then going into Thursday than he did initially because of the kind of look. If you've seen the replays of it, Insigne was completely distraught and it looked more serious. That's a good sign for Toronto that it's at least trending in the right direction. It might not get him on the field this weekend. I don't see really any way it gets him on the field to start, but is he available for Toronto FC? We're just going to have to wait and see. So after that for Toronto, even with Insigne off the field, they get a penalty. Federico Bernardeschi puts that home. Just a brilliantly taken penalty. Very calm and casual, as you would expect from the classy Italian lefty. And then he puts a free kick that is as good, maybe even a little bit better than Thiago Almada's, except it doesn't go in, and it's not in the 97th minute either. That free kick is saved in one of the saves of the weekend from Tyler Miller of DC. The rebound comes off the post and out, and Mark Anthony K slams it home. 83rd minute, Toronto's up 2-1. All is looking well. 90th minute, Christian Benteke on an assist from Tedku DiPietro, DC homegrown. 98th minute, it is Kud DiPietro who gets the winner from Mohamed Jeezy, the cross from the left back. Awful way for Toronto to lose points in this one. DC gets the huge win. Going to be really interesting to see them. We will get into DC later down the road. But To start this March to Match Day, let's get into the two coaches. First, Gonzalo Pineda, then Bob Bradley, talking about their reflections on game one of the MLS season.
What were the positives and the improvements from week one that you hope to see in week two?
Well, I think the positives are many. I think at times we take for granted to dominate in possession opponents. I think at times it feels like, oh yeah, it's natural, like we have more possession than the opponent, and I think that's not easy. So that's number one. That's a good sign of us having a good mentality on trying to dominate the game, right, in the way we want. Then obviously we had some challenges against a low block, and that's what we were working on, how we can disrupt better, how we can create better patterns, how we can understand better movements and spaces on the field, and it's always a work in progress on that. That's being a footballer, understanding time and space. So it's always a work in progress, and but we are, trying to send the right message to the players on understanding that.
When we looked at the game, we thought that in the first half at times we didn't. At times we could have moved the ball faster. We moved the ball, we still had a lot of possession, but at times it wasn't fast enough. It got better as the half went on. You learn from goals. The first goal was just a series of reactions where guys were there and weren't able to take care of a play, and then it came up the field and they were able to score from whatever, 25, 26 yards. The second half, many of those things got better. I thought we managed the game. I think they kicked off somewhere around 83 after we went up 2-1. And from 83 to 89 something, I thought the players were very focused and managed the game well. And then it highlights that it doesn't take much to all of a sudden let a game tilt a little bit and give the other team a chance. And so there were a couple of plays where we should have been smarter. We should have managed a situation a little bit better. I think I mentioned some of them after the game. They hit a long ball and Matt ducked and it went over his head and Richie scooped it up, but we weren't able to make a clean play at that point. Richie's so clever at how he can twist away from pressure, but in that particular case, and he got caught with the ball and we had to recover and the ball stayed in our end. We had enough guys in the box at the end, but not enough guys that that recognized where they needed to be or saw a play coming a little bit faster. I thought when it was 2-2, we had 4 or 5 times where we were too anxious to hit long balls, so the game got stretched. And then late in the game, we combined pretty well to play out to our left side. The pass that Raul tries to make is great. It's a good pass, and he flat out says, I underhit it. And then when the ball turns over, it's just, we were a little bit out of sorts. Brandon had run high. He was probably, first game, a little bit anxious. And he was ready to join in up front, but he probably was a little high too soon. And then, again, when the play developed, you have to give credit that I think by the end of the play, we have 8 guys in the box. So it's not a situation where guys didn't react and tried to go back and deal with the moment, but we just didn't do well enough. The ball that comes just behind our defensive line, in that situation, has to be defended better.
Let's get into one of the big personalities on the pitch in week one for Atlanta United. It was Franco Ibarra. He was the man of the match for me before Thiago Almada's heroics. I thought he was better than I expected on the ball. We expected the tackling, the defensive side of his game, and I thought he really paired up well with Mateus Rossetto in that regard. They covered for one another really well. They read the play, I thought, actually very, very well. Here is Franco Ibarra from media, first in Spanish and then translated by Justin Veldhouse of the Atlanta United communications team, on physicality and why it's such a big part of Ibarra's game.
Have you always put in tackles like that violently?
Siempre ha sido una persona de entradas muy...
Sí, la verdad que sí, desde chiquito me enseñaron a dar todo en todo lo que hago y nada, cuando entro en una cancha lo siento así, siento que es una pasión, siento que es una responsabilidad muy grande que tengo y es una, como te digo, una manera de hacerme ver adentro de la cancha, de comunicarle a mis compañeros que estoy ahí para ayudarlos, que si ellos pierden la pelota yo estoy ahí atrás de ellos, de que si a Thiago le pegan, si a Luis le pegan una patada, yo estoy ahí para defenderlo, entre comillas, pero sí, trato de hacer lo mejor mi trabajo.
Yeah, I think that's something that I was taught when I was younger, to always give my everything in everything that I do, and that's what I try to do when I step onto the field. I think it's a passion of mine. It's just that attitude of going out and giving everything, and like I said, to make opposing players know that I'm there. So if if somebody's kicking Luis or Thiago, then I'm there to defend them in quotation marks.
Next up on March to Match Day, Atlanta United forward Miguel Berry spoke to the media for the first time. Berry came off the bench in game one. We'll see if he gets the start in game two, although that forward room just got a lot more crowded with Jackson Conway starting week one, Berry coming off the bench. Yorgos Yakimakis is available for selection on Saturday. He trained with Atlanta United on Friday. Now, that Friday session generally is a little bit lighter because it's a week before match day, or a day before match day. What is it going to look like up top for Atlanta United? Again, we have to wait till those lineups come out about 6:30, 6:40-ish on Saturday night. Will it be Yakimakis? Will it be Conway? Will it be Miguel Berry? Here's Berry talking about his first impressions of the club. He hasn't been here very long. And second, what to expect from his game.
You've been with a couple MLS clubs. Now that you're here in person, what makes Atlanta United different? What stands out?
I mean, I think I've seen a bit of everything in the MLS now at this point, and this is my first 20 minutes here. You see the difference, and before you even walk in the stadium, I'm not even talking about that atmosphere, which is incredible. I've never experienced anything like that. You see, really, it's not the 12th man. It's like 15, 16. How many people are there? So, but I think this club does everything right. Whether it's my relocation, which is something that I'm sure fans don't even think about, but that's a very difficult process, and they've been incredibly helpful with that, and just trying to get me settled as quick as possible, because help me do my job better here. And I think this club has gone above and beyond with that, and I mean the facilities are incredible. The fans are. I've never seen anything like that. The pregame march, I had no idea what I was doing when I got fitted for a tux, but I just kind of followed Miles, followed Derek, and saw what they did, and that was incredible. It's an experience I really cherished, and I'm looking forward to again this weekend. So this club has exceeded my expectations, which were already incredibly high. So
What can you bring for Atlanta United supporters who may not be as familiar with you as?
Traditionally I bring good link-up play. I like to combine. That's something I do, and I love to get in the box, make good runs, and be creative with my movement, and both, with combination. And my job is, I always say, to make, Thiago better, to make Luis better. They're incredible players, and the way this team's going to win is by them performing their best, and I can support them in doing that, and then make the team, succeed. And I'm sure, Thiago himself is going to help, other players score goals, and that's what he does. So.
Another big storyline for Atlanta United in game one was the returns to the pitch for Brad Gazan and Miles Robinson. If you haven't seen Brick by Brick, the series that Atlanta United has published on their YouTube page, highly, highly recommended to go check that out. The last episode just dropped yesterday. It's a must watch. If you want the full story of what it felt like when the injury happened, what recovery was like for Brad Gazan, how hard he worked, how hard everybody at the club worked to get him back on the field. You got a great glimpse of that. Miles Robinson went through a lot of this right alongside Brad, and you saw some uh, probably emotional moments between the two of them before and after this game, where they both get back on the field after Achilles ruptures in 2022. I had a chance to talk to Miles Robinson at the media availability. And first up, I asked him about the matchup this week, dealing with probably Adama Diomande in the number 9 position for Toronto, and just very different kind of forward than Jeremy Abobasi. And second, I asked him about what the most challenging aspects of his recovery to the pitch were. How challenging is it going from defending a forward like Ibobasi, who's going to drop into the midfield a lot, very mobile, versus somebody like Diamande, big physical presence, who's going to stay stationary more?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of different types of strikers in this league. It's just about understanding their strengths versus their weaknesses and how we can try to make them as uncomfortable as possible throughout the game, and hopefully we can do that. I think we can.
What was the hardest aspect of recovery for you? Was it the physical, the mental, or just getting the soccer rhythm back?
I think initially it was definitely mental because you can't really walk or do anything. You're pretty much trapped, and then later on it's obviously like physical because you want to be explosive like you used to be, but you're not there yet, and you just have to continue with the grind and put your head down and keep doing your calf raises, things like this. But just getting back on the field is something I look forward to. So I think props to the whole Atlanta United medical staff and everyone that's helped me through it all, because without them, I definitely wouldn't be in this position.
Next up on March to Match Day, let's move over to the opposition side. It is a very new back line for Toronto, a work in progress with a new goalkeeper in Sean Johnson, with 2 new center backs, 1 new fullback, and 1 fullback who has been there, left, and is now back in Richie Larea. Let's talk to the fullbacks. This is from Toronto's media availability this week. First, the very interesting story. I really like his background and am intrigued to see him in this league. Raul Petretta, born in Germany, Italian parents, really came to the fore in Switzerland at FC Basel. You're going to hear from Petretta and you're going to hear from Richie Larea, Canadian national team player, about how the back line is coming together with so many new faces. First Petretta, then Larea.
Yeah, I think I said it also to Bob. For me, the most important thing is we have to know each other. I have to know how Sigurd now next to me, how Lorenzo in front of me, how they think in the game, during the game, and I think this needs time, of course, but I think we will do it.
Yeah, I think some very good starting points for us. Obviously, there's all 4 of us weren't here come this time last year, so it's a lot of new faces, plus Sean in the back as well. So new faces, but good. You see the quality that Matt has, that Sigurd has, that Raul has in that game. So I think it's a lot of very good points, and they're all very good players as well. And obviously Sean helps us massively in goal as well. So I think it's good. It's fun to play with them, and it's going to be nice to continue to build chemistry with them.
Next up on March to Match Day, let's hear from Toronto manager Bob Bradley and then Richie Larea, just with their thoughts on what they're facing this weekend against Atlanta United.
They have some very skillful players. I think everyone saw what Almada was capable of doing in the second part of the season last year. So he starts out with these 2 great goals. He's still quite a talented player. They've got other guys that are talented and good on the ball. That's a style of play that you see when you watch them over.
Yeah, they're obviously a good team. We know that, and yeah, away games in this league are always tough. I feel like wherever you go. So yeah, we'll be fully prepared for them. We obviously as well have a very good team. We've added some very good pieces, and yeah, I feel like whenever we play against them, it's a pretty good game. They like to play football. We like to play football as well. So it'll be a good game that we'll be prepared for and ready to take 3 points in our first win of the season as well.
Love hearing from all of the managers and players as much as possible ahead of a match day, and that's what you're going to get this season on March to Match Day. Got one more clip for you, and I'm going to set it up. We'll end with that clip. Gonzalo Pineda, I love hearing him talk tactics and even bigger than tactics. I love hearing him talk about philosophy. And transition moments is something that has come up a lot with Atlanta United, and even Raul Petretta talked about that being one of the things that stood out to him in his first game in Major League Soccer. This is a league that has a lot of transition moments in it. It's a very fast-paced league. You're going to get those turnovers because you have a lot of teams that press in a variety of different ways. How teams handle transition moments is a key to success in Major League Soccer. Some teams purely play for transition moments. Others, like Atlanta and Toronto, both teams that want the ball, they have to deal with those transition moments. And it's really a big factor in how teams like Atlanta, like Toronto, others that really, I think, value possession. It's a huge factor in how successful they are. Gonzalo Pineda talked about that today, or talked about that this week in media availability. And it was interesting to get the full picture of those moments because I think it's easy to look at the ball turns over, what happens? But there is a process to be ready when the ball turns over. It's something that Pep Guardiola has talked about a lot in terms of why he wants his team to string passes together to get up the field. It connects the team, not just in possession, but it connects the team when the ball turns over. They're close together. They're able to then be organized and try to win the ball back. Gonzalo Pineda talked about that at the media availability this week. I'm going to end on that. So, again, don't forget, Saturday, we are on Star 94. You can always listen on the Odyssey app or the Atlanta United app. And now you can listen on Apple TV's MLS Season Pass. You can listen to our audio there. The pregame coverage starts at 7 o'clock with Five Stripes Countdown. Kickoff at 7:39. Full-time report for an hour to follow, and that will be posted to the Off the Woodwork folder where you might be listening to this. You might be watching on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to both to get all of the great content, not just soccer related, but everything around the 92.9 The Game universe. Here's how we're going to end March to Match Day this week. It's going to be Gonzalo Pineda talking about transition, active defending, and giving you a real glimpse of the philosophy behind the way Atlanta United plays. Thanks for joining us for March to Match Day. We will see you from the bins on Saturday.
About the transition moments, and I think in the past you've called it active defending, where
Yeah.
you're in position to defend those transition moments. How do you feel about the active defending in this game?
Well, first of all, with that name I never found a good name for that because in Spanish it makes a lot of sense. Marca en ataque is marking as you are attacking, so that makes more sense to me. So active defending became a word that we create actually in Seattle, and I haven't found a better word for that. So I'm looking forward to see if someone is smarter than all of us and finds a better term. Then I felt that we need to correct a little bit of that, and we've been working in that, but it is so funny how we understand the game. Is for me, the way we build and the way we start to create our chances dictates how we're going to regain the ball after that. So if we are so exposed, if we open up the center backs too wide and then only one player solo in the middle, the center mid, and then we push the fullbacks higher and then we bring the wingers inside, like there are going to be a lot of gaps in transition because the center backs are so far away from each other, and then the gaps in the middle channels when they try to come inside, the gaps in behind the fullback. So it's a little bit those ways of build, 2 and 3, 3 and 2. That's what we've been working on. But how we can be better at progressing the ball, and then if we lose the ball, how we can be protected by that shape and that structure. So it is not just about that reaction after you lose the ball, how you protect that. It's before that, since you start the build-up, is how you can have a better structure to defend. So we work on all of that and finding ways to improve since that moment of the game, like in that phase. Like when we have the ball, we're building out. In case we lose the ball, how we are. And so that's the thought process, and in that way we work on that this week on both phases.